this computer. And we are going to go live on Facebook as well. Bhagavad Gita. Share to page. Okay, so we're now live on Facebook, and then I just need to do the screen share. We're in business. I think this is the page I'm share. Okay, great. So we are going to hear our Gurudev Srila Bhakti Sundar Gurudev Goswami Maharaj chanting these first verses of, so we got up to verse 11, right? Chapter 14. So let's hear up to around verse 20. I'll start from the beginning of the chapter. Jai Srila Gurudev, Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.
अथ चतुर्दशोऽध्याय गुणत्रय विभाग योग श्री भगवान उवाच परं भूय प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमं यत्त्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः इदं ज्ञानमुपाश्रित्य मम साधर्ममागताः सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते प्रलये न पतन्ति च मम योनिर्महद्ब्रह्म तस्मिन् गर्भं ददाम्यहं सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां ततो भवति भारत सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भवन्ति या तासां ब्रह्म महज्योनि अहं बीजप्रदः पिता सत्यं रजस्तम इति गुणाः प्रकृतिसम्भवाः निबध्नन्ति महाबाहो देहे देहि नमभयम् तत्र सत्यं निर्मलत्वात् प्रकाशकमनामयं सुखसंगेन बध्नाति ज्ञानसंगेन चानघ रजोरागात्मकं विद्धि तृष्णासंगसमुद्भवं तन्निबध्नान्ति कौन्तेय कर्मसंगेन देहिनं तमस्तज्ज्ञानजं विद्धि मोहनं सर्वदेहिनां प्रमादालस्य निद्राभिस्तन्निबध्नाति भारत सत्यं सुखे संजयति रजः कर्मणि भारत ज्ञानमावृत्य तु तमः प्रमादे संजयत्युत रजस्तमश्चाभिभूय सत्यं भवति भारत रजः सत्यं तमश्चैव तमः सत्यं रजस्तथा सर्वदारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्याद् विवृद्धं सत्यमित्युत लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणामशमः स्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे कुरुनन्दन यदा सत्ये प्रवृद्धे तु प्रलयं जाति देहभृत् तदुत्तमविदां लोकान् अमलान् प्रतिपद्यते रजसी प्रलयं गत्वा कर्मसंगीषु जायते तथा प्रलीनस्तमसि मूढयोनिषु जायते कर्मणः सुकृतस्याहु सात्विकं निर्मलं फलं रजसस्तु फलं दुःखम् अज्ञानं तमसः फलं सत्तात् संजायते ज्ञानं रजसो लोभ एव च प्रमादो मोहो तमसो भवतो ज्ञानमेव च ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्तस्था मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसः जघन्य गुण वृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसा नान्यं गुणेभ्यो कर्तारं यदा दृष्टानुपश्यति गुणेभ्यश्च परं वेत्ति मद्भावं शोधि गच्छति गुणे नेतान्नतित्तत्रीन् देहि देह समुद्भवा जन्म मृत्यु जरा दुःखैर् विमुक्तो मृतनुः अश्नुते अर्जुनोवाच.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there in verse 20. Welcome everyone who's joined in the last few moments. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? Illuminating, we can say, because we can all relate. We can all observe how these different modes of nature are conditioning us to behave and feel in different ways. So I'm going to put everyone on the spot here, and let's go through some of the things described for each of these modes. Someone want to share something described for the mode of passion? How the mode of passion conditions us. Oh, we didn't read the translation yet. Sorry. Okay, that wasn't very fair. I was skim reading as I went through, but it probably didn't really give much time for everyone. Okay, sorry. Do we have a volunteer? Someone want to read the English?
I can volunteer.
Okay, great. So let's pick up from verse 11. Or let's say 10. This is a nice point here.
Okay. Verse 10. O Bharata, goodness overcomes passion and ignorance. Passion overcomes goodness and ignorance overcomes goodness and passion. Each mode in turn defeats the other in an unending battle for supremacy. 11. When the gateways of the body are illuminated with knowledge, know this to be the manifestation of the mode of goodness. For global dynasty, know that when the mode of passion predominates in a person, greed, exertion, undertaking of activities, unrest, and hankering become manifest. 13. O Kuru Ananda, by the influence of the mode of ignorance, all the symptoms of dullness, inactivity, delusion, and bewilderment become manifest. 14. If a person dies in a state of the mode of goodness, he goes to the pure plains where those who have higher knowledge reside. 15. When a person dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth as a human attached to worldly activity. If one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the lower species. 16. It is said by the learned that good actions result in purity, passionate actions result in sorrow, and ignorant actions lead to darkness. 17. From the mode of goodness, knowledge arises. From the mode of passion, greed. And from the mode of ignorance, delusion, bewilderment, and a lack of knowledge ensue. 18. Persons in goodness ascend up to Satyaloka. Those in passion remain in the middle as humans, and the unfortunate ignorant persons fall to the lower planes of suffering. 19. When a person sees the three modes to be the only impetus of this world and knows the Supreme Lord, transcendental to the modes, then he comes to love me with devotion, capital Me. 20. Transcending these modes manifest in the body, he is liberated from the miseries of birth, death, and old age, and knows the joy of immortality.
Right. Okay, well, does anyone want to share, let's say, something of the qualities of the mode of ignorance, tamagun, tamasa?
I can share something, Dee Dee. Dandavats. Mode of ignorance. Yeah, when I had heard some time ago in a class from a Vaishnava that they'd said, like, when you're ignoring something, that's the ignorance. Like, mode of ignorance is the process of ignoring the facts.
Nice, nice.
Like with in relation to eating flesh or whatever, it's like they're ignoring the fact that these beings suffered and they love their life and they love their young. And also with like cleanliness,
right.
like if you're ignoring the fact that your house is like got all kinds of dust and mold growing in it, it's ignorance, so
right.
anyway.
Like a lack of consciousness, lack of awareness. Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Right. Very nice. Anyone want to share any thoughts on the mode of passion?
Well, I'll share on the mode of passion. As a former, when I'm with Vishaka Dede, she told me quit the caffeine, that maybe even better to drink alcohol than to take caffeine because the hyperness is like, you're just doing and going and it's like, all right, settle down now, simmer down now. It's like, hold the, shut the front doors, like sit down, relax, like doing go. And that this world is so mode of passion, just to hustle in this world and survive if you're on that plane. So thanks, Dee Dee. I love you. Hare Krishna.
Love you too, Chintali.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm more also sort of qualified to speak on, because like that, if there's something I can't do, usually it's because I'm trying too hard. It's like I have such a tendency toward the mode of passion that it's just like I'm having to learn to back up and sometimes just let things happen, and that's so uncomfortable.
Very nice. Anyone else want to share any thoughts? Okay. Then anything on the, so I'll just read this. Greed, exertion, undertaking of activities, unrest, and hankering. And oh wow, we have Sue Davy tuning in again from Australia. It's like 3 a.m. or something. Another thing that we can add is that, then this is one of the things that's so beautiful about the culture of bhakti, that ultimately everything can be engaged in service. I mean, maybe Tamagun, I don't know about Tamagun. I think it might be a little difficult to engage Tamagun in service. I have to think about that one. But definitely the mode of passion and the mode of goodness, they can be engaged in service, because also the mode of goodness isn't the goal in the end, right? And sometimes we hear the mode of goodness being described as a kind of trap, right? And it's something that can take us away from the real essence, and it can be more kind of insidious and difficult to get over, because it has an appearance of something very desirable and something righteous. It's difficult to give up righteousness for Krishna. It's easier in a sense to give up unrighteousness, because it's very obvious that adharma is undesirable. But then to see how dharma can sometimes be undesirable, how dharma can sometimes be in conflict to bhakti, that is a more subtle challenge, right? That is a more subtle challenge. So, and I really like this, this description, because we experience that, right? How there's this endless battle between the three of these. We're like being spun around by these different energies. So, and of course, we can try our best to, to a certain extent, we're kind of helpless, but we do have some degree, you know, to a large extent, we can say we're helpless and we're just waiting for Krishna's mercy, right? But we can also do our bit, and if we know that, you know, there are certain activities or foods or people, right, or television shows or whatever, movies that are arising, they're like stimulating different modes within us, and we can try to avoid them, right? So we can try to do our bit. Okay, well, I don't know if anyone else have any other comments, or should we go on to the next verses?
I'm seeing that Jayadeva has written in the chat, like paper, rock, scissors, and that there is a Sanskrit death metal band that sings verses from the Gita. Not sure if he wants to elaborate.
So does that count? Does death metal count as tamagun or rajagun or both?
I think it's both. I think if you wanted something that was specifically Raja, it would I think it would be more of the I can't think of the name of more of the hard rock
Okay.
genre than the death metal.
Well, there's an example then of tamagun being engaged in service. Thrash.
I was also thinking about that, you know, you were talking about waiting for mercy. And I'm thinking, for those of us who don't do well with waiting, that would be using tamagun in service, would be making ourselves be still and do that waiting.
Well, in that case, because you're coming at it from a devotional angle, like in connection with Krishna, I think that would be more touching on the nirguna plane.
Oh, okay.
That's going beyond the modes of nature. Although I suppose under what impetus it's coming from within yourself. Tricky thing. Although actually, I mean, there is a healthy stillness, which I would describe as mode of goodness, right? Like meditation. You know, that would classify as mode of goodness. So that's something different. That's like a conscious stillness, right? I like Chintamani's point that the mode of underlying the mode of ignorance is this lack of awareness, right? Lack of consciousness. But so there's an unconscious stillness and there's a conscious stillness. There's sleeping in class, and there's in deep meditation absorbing everything that's being said. And I've seen both. And outside they may look the same.
So out of curiosity, if you're the sort of person who has to make a conscious decision to convince yourself to be okay with not knowing something, where does that fit in?
Wait, say that one more time.
Okay. All right, I'll make this specific to me and say it in a different order and see if that helps. I like to know things. I like to know what's going to happen, and I like to know what's going on. And particularly if something in me is shifting, I really like to know what is going on. And I'm like, one of the things I've been doing the last few years is having to learn to not know what is changing or how it's changing, and just kind of be okay with that. And so I'm wondering if I'm having to make a conscious knowing decision that the right thing for me is to not know what's going on. How does that fit? Is that?
I mean, to me, I say that's surrender. That's Sharanagati, and that's pertaining to the nirguna plane. You know, that's
Okay.
something
Well,
different.
it is when I pull it off. When I don't pull it off, I'm not sure if it's anything in particular, but yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and I mean, really, you know, ultimately we, you know, these things, the modes of nature, all this stuff, it's not really our subject matter, right? Karma is not really our subject matter. Also, these are just kind of like background things that help us, you know, understand the nuts and bolts, right? And how things are running. But, you know, we're not worrying about what karma we're incurring or what karma we're not incurring and all these things, right? We're just trying to go on with our service and connection with the Lord and the Vaishnavas. So in that sense, it simplifies things. You know, when it comes to ego, it gets more complicated. But in terms of like the ideology and what we're aspiring for, and like this morning we were in the class here. I'm here in London, and the devotee she was making some ghee wicks. Like it was like she was like sitting like an hour and a half throughout the program, the kirtan, the class, rolling ghee wicks, and then right at the very end, she's got like a big pile of ghee wicks in a little bowl that she's collected. Then right at the end, she accidentally knocked it over, and, and they all fell on the ground. These are ghee wicks to be used in the puja for the Lord, the arati, right? And then she looks at me and she said, "Oh yeah." So then she quickly gathered them up, and another devotee helped her and put them back in the pot. And then she looks at me and she's like, "What do you think? Is that okay?" And because like technically, according to some strict Brahminical Sattvic standard, it's all contaminated, right? You can't use it. And so she looks at me and like, "What do you think?" And I said, I think it's fine, And I said, maybe according to some, Vidhi Marg standard, right? According to rules, regulations, it's not permissible. I said, but Raga Marg comes to our relief sometimes, the line of free, spontaneous devotion, where the center, the focus is on the heart, right? According to the mundane calculation, it's contaminated. But from a higher calculation, the real transaction is of the heart, right? So, it kind of like simplifies things, when we're going in that line of simple, direct service to the Lord and the flow of the heart, And, we follow some extent, we consider to some extent these other, more external concerns, but we know that's not the be all and end all, and we can relax a little when when necessary. And that was our Gurudev's mood as well. There was some element of both. Okay, well, maybe we'll go on, unless anyone else has any. How about the times meat was served for preaching? Oh, we have a comment from Jai. A nice example. Although actually, I can add that actually that never happened. But it never actually was carried out. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talked about it, and he said we could do that. He established it as a possible, right? And in order to attract people in London specifically, I think it was London, or could have been in India, or both. Believe it was London. And because Saraswati Thakur wanted to target the students, right? Young, educated, open-minded persons, and so he conceived this plan of opening a hostel, a student hostel. But they're accustomed to a particular diet, and so provide what food they want. And so there will be the hostel, and then there will also be some exposure to some level of Krishna consciousness and the teachings, right? And so Srila Saraswati Thakur, he mentioned this idea to some of his disciples, and our Param Guru, our grandfather Guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Lakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj was present there, and he was very surprised. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj just mentioned himself, he had some attachment to the Brahminical Sattvic standard, which our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, did not have at all. Our Gurudev would rather, he would have glee in disregarding and stepping over these things. It was like a source of pleasure for him to like poke at the Brahminical culture, we hear of that incident when he convinced Srila Sridhar Maharaj to eat some pizza that was prepared. And by eat, we mean like Srila Sridhar Maharaj poked his finger in and had like a bit of the sauce on his finger, which he took, right? But it was prepared by a Western woman, and it was totally different samskar, different material conditioning, different standard, and it's pizza, which is very, very foreign for someone like Srila Sridhar Maharaj coming from such a traditional Brahminical background. But our Gurudev like really convinced him, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj had already denied that lady repeatedly over the course of some days, but our Gurudev kind of sweet talked him into taking a little. And then when our Gurudev commented about it, in this way I made Guru Maharaj break his Brahmanism. Like he got some joy out of that. And I also know of a few occasions with his disciples where he knew if he knew someone was too attached to this type of strict Vidhi Marg, Brahminical, scriptural way of practicing, our Gurudev would kind of test them in different ways and convince them to get out of that. So going back to so Srila Sridhar Maharaj's nature, right? He had some attachment to this. And on another occasion, Srila Saraswati Thakur gave him the very high honor of requesting him to go to London as a frontline preacher, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj declined. And one of his main reasons was he said it would be difficult for him to mix, with the Western Mlecha folk. And so on that occasion, right, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was shocked, and when Saraswati Thakur made this proposal, and he said, but what will the people say? There will be people who will criticize us for such an undertaking. And Saraswati Thakur was very firm and strong in his response, and he said something like, I considered this 10,000 lifetimes ago. And he said, we must be Vaikuntha Vritti, right? Saying that, we must be broad and accommodating in the way that we are distributing this message. So it was never actually done, but Srila Saraswati Thakur approved in theory, that such a thing would be possible. So yes. That is the real spirit. And you've reminded me of, there was another incident which our Gurudev liked to tell a lot. This was with Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, who was one of the top preachers in the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, where they were preaching, I believe it was in the Kashmir area, and they found some type of restaurant. They were hungry, and this is a group of preachers headed by Bhakti Saranga Goswami, and the food had onions in it, which perhaps to us doesn't sound like such a big deal, but for persons following a strict Vedic standard, that would be shocking. And so someone there noticed it, and he made a comment, oh, this has onions, this is contaminated. And Bhakti Saranga Goswami, he said, you are seeing onions, I'm seeing Mahaprasad. This is the Lord's grace coming to us. So this was the spirit of Srila Saraswati Thakur's preaching mission, and that's the real spirit of Krishna consciousness. Focusing on, what is the essence and what is favorable for the service and happiness of Krishna and the devotees. Okay, so we can go on unless anyone wants to add anything. Religion means proper adjustment, Ramananda is saying in the chat. Yes. Very nice. Okay, so we'll pick up from verse 21. We'll go back to audio to Gurudev.
Koirlingoi string gunanettanotito bhavati prabho kimachara kathang chaitang strin gunannoti vartate. Sri Bhagavan uvacha prakashascha pravittincha mohameva cha pandava naddesti sang pravittani non-nibrittani kankhati udasina vadasino gunairjo no vichalyate gunavartanta ittevam jovatishtati nengate samadukka sukhang sastha samalushtrasma kanchana tulla priya priyo dhiras tulla nindatma sanstuti मानापमानयोस्तुल्यस्तुल्यो मित्रारिपक्षयो सर्वारंभ परित्यागी गुणातीत स उच्यते मांझो व्यभिचारेण भक्ति योगेन सेवते सगुणान समतीतैतान् ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतस्याव्ययस्य च शाश्वतस्य च धर्मस्य सुखस्यैकान्तिकस्य च इति श्री महाभारते शतसाहस्रां संहितायां वैयासिकां भीष्म पर्वणि श्रीमद् भगवद गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्री कृष्णार्जुन संवादे गुणत्रय विभाग योगो नाम चतुर्दशोऽध्याय.
Okay, so it's one of the shorter chapters. Come to the end of chapter 14. And I forgot, normally we chant the verses also, so we can go back and do that. So picking up at verse 21. Arjuna Vacha Kerlingas Chingunanitan Natito Bhavati Prabhu Kimmachara Katam Chaitam Chingunanati Vartate Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakashancha Pravittincha Mohameva Cha Pandava Nadveshti Sampravittani Nani Vittani Kankshati Udasina Vadasino Gune Yona Vishalyate Gunavartanta Ityevam Yovatishtati Nengate Samaduka Sukha Swasta Samaloštashmakanchanaha Tulya Priya Priyodiras Tulya Nindatma Samstutihi Manapamanayustulyas Tulya Mitra Dipakshayaho Sarvaramba Parityagi Gunatita Sauchate Manchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatityaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritas yavyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Okay. So, do we have a volunteer to read those translations? In verse 20, 21.
I can volunteer, Didi. Nobody else wants to volunteer. Okay. Arjuna said, O Lord, what are the symptoms of a person transcendental to these three modes of material nature? How does he behave, and how does he transcend the modes? Text 22. The Supreme Lord replied, O Pandava, it is said that a person who has transcended the three modes of material nature neither resents illumination, activation, and delusion when they appear, nor does he hanker for them when they withdraw. Poised in the knowledge that the modes are engaging, he is not distracted by them. He remains unperturbed, unconcerned. Remaining self-satisfied, he sees joy and sorrow equally. He sees earth, rock, or gold with the vision of equality. He is wise, equipoised in desirable and undesirable circumstances, abuse and praise, honor and dishonor. He behaves fairly with friend and foe alike, and he renounces all mundane endeavors. 26. A person who, without deviation, serves me with devotion, transcends the three modes of material nature and becomes qualified to know his internal divine identity. 27. I am the basis of the absolute truth, the inexhaustible nectar.
the eternal pastimes, and the ultimate ecstasy of divine love. End of chapter 14, the three divisions of material nature. From the conversation of Sri Krishna and Arjuna in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad, the yoga scripture of transcendental knowledge, in Bhishma Parva of Sri Mahabharat, the holy scripture revealed by Srila Vyasadeva in 100,000 verses.
Wow, that last verse, so beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful. Anyone have any thoughts, comments on these last verses we've been through?
Yeah, Didi, I was wondering if you could read the last verse again and share some nectar on that.
Okay, I'll get there. I definitely want to share some thoughts on that. But before we get there, anyone have any thoughts on the earlier verses or that one? It's nice. It's nice hearing, like, I have to say, Arjuna's kind of representing us, or he is representing us, right? And he's asking the questions that we would ask, actually. And so, like, this question here, it's a very practical and helpful question, gives us some perspective, like, okay, we're hearing about all these different modes of nature, and then what about someone who's transcended them? Like, how will they behave? It kind of like gives us like a benchmark, right? And then this other question is, last one, how do they transcend? What's the secret to transcending these modes of nature? So it's very, very nice, very practical questions. And then there's this very nice description here. This is so nice, right? Poised in the knowledge. Okay, I didn't want to bring up the dictionary there. No, can't get rid of it. Okay, there we go. So poised in the knowledge that the modes are engaging, he's not distracted by them. So again, like, becoming an observer, right? This knowledge helps us to become the observer. We may not be able to become free of them, right, in the beginning, but we can become aware that they're just playing out, right? There's this game playing out, and we can just watch it. May not be able to control it, but the senses, right? The flesh is attracted to something, the ears are attracted to something, the stomach is attracted to something, different impulses, urges, curiosities, right? And the minds, they're all being attracted to different things. And but the self, right, the deeper self within is just watching. We don't need to become caught up and identify with that, right? It sees joy and sorrow equally, equipoised and equipoise, right? This is a key word of Bhagavad Gita. If we had to come out with a list of main talking points of Bhagavad Gita, is equipoise, equilibrium in the midst of the duality of this world. This is one of the top on the list. And so here's the answer, right? This is the secret. This is the secret. This is a fairly well-known verse we hear quoted by our gurus. This avyavi charena, without deviation, right? This unceasing devotion. So this is the secret, and this reminds us of earlier in the verse, it's earlier in Bhagavad Gita, right, where Krishna is saying that Daivi hiesha gunamayi mama maya durate mam eva ye prapadyante mayam itam tanantite. One of the earlier well-known verses of Gita, Krishna is saying it's pretty much impossible to become free from Miss Maya Devi. Right? But one who mam eva ye prapadya, one who surrenders unto me, they can easily overcome her. So, Krishna, he's the wire puller, right? He's the boss, and he is the center. He represents the absolute center. So by surrendering to that center, serving that center with devotion, then automatically, as a side effect, right? It won't even become the focus, but as a side effect, we'll overcome these things. Now this verse, so beautiful, isn't it? The one Chintamani has pointed out. And there's a lot here, right? Brahmano he, this is, and like really, Bhagavad Gita's, it's really totally Krishna centric and Vaishnava centric. If one looks with an unbiased eye, I mean, how more clear can you get? Brahmano hi pratishtaham, right? He's saying, I'm the basis of Brahman, right? You know, Brahman is something emanating from me, not that Brahman is the highest and ultimate, you know, this formless, non-differentiated, impersonal manifestation, the absolute. That's not the ultimate, but that's emanating from me. I am the source of that. I am the origin of that. It's very clear. So that's a key phrase here, putting everything in context, right? And then more than that, this amritasya yasya cha, the inexhaustible nectar. And this is very beautiful. Sukhasya ikantikasya cha. The sukha is joy, right? Ecstasy, the joy of divine love. This is perhaps something of a liberal translation. Dharmasya here is being defined as divine pastime. So this is like a higher, devotionally tinged translation. Very beautiful and very attractive. Suvasini, you've been super quiet today. Maybe you're busy. You're just quietly there in the back. Would always love to hear something from you, Didi. It's always an honor to have you.
Yeah, just hearing the background. I'm just hearing you. It's nice to hear. That's nice.
And very cool to have Sue Devi with us again, tuning in from Govindadam, UK, Australia. Anyone else have any comments, any thoughts? Gangalila, you've been very quiet also. Always happy to hear your reflections.
Hare Krishna, yeah, I feel quiet. I feel like I'm in the absorbing mood and not in the expressing mood. And I think I'm in the sinking in phase. Sorry.
Very nice, very nice. What about Dulal Krishna Prabhu? Any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I guess just let me pull up 22 through 25. Yeah, remaining unperturbed and unconcerned. In this moment, I'm feeling far from feeling like equiposed, I guess. And I just kind of feel touched and saddened deeply by some just regular mundane stuff. And so it's really nice that we're reading this chapter together. That's giving me re-energizing my focus. So yeah, I just appreciate it. Appreciate the association.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Bhagavad Gita is always putting us back on track, giving us perspective and illumination. So it always feels, I always like to think of it as a bath, that's cleansing us and resetting us and putting us back on the right new beginning. It's so important to repeatedly, regularly, right? Dive into that stream, nectar stream. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Always fresh. Ramananda Prabhu Dandavat, you look like you
And yeah, can I say something?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Thank you. Dandos to everybody. Yeah, I like our title. See, Srila Guru Maharaj Gurudev remind us that Krishna is sweet absolute. He is not like anything else. He is merciful, he is loving, he is sweet. Because I see many other Bhagavad Gita, but our is very exclusive, very high, very special. Yeah. So Guru Maharaj very unalloyed. Thank you. That's my, because I see in other Bhagavad Gita also. I sometimes go other places, the temples, and then I can see the mood. Because we have exclusive Rupanugas, but they have other so many other different variations, different moods. Yeah, everything has their level. Yeah, Guru Maharaj, I was listening to Srila Guru Maharaj lecture. He was telling how everything has gradation. Sadhu Shastra, they all have gradation. So we have to go higher. Yeah, we have to go higher. Yeah, it's all about aspiration, our aspiration. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we're very fortunate. We have this devotion-centered, beautiful edition of Srimad Bhagavad Gita coming from our gurus.
I could try to share something what my tiny little mini world is doing right now with what I'm hearing and trying to absorb is that so I'm really listening to the three modes of these three modes, the gunas and nirgunas and sattvas, tamarajas, and it always inspires me to look through that lens. It's not very foreign to me. And then here's what happens when you called out on me. I was completely caught up in Tama because I just realized this Ekadasi, and I am eating bread right now. So I allowed for some like a dip in my energy and my mood and everything, and all is lost and I'm doomed and oh how how I don't have discipline. So like some negative self-talk. And then what came through right now, continuing to listen, was that what you shared about they were traveling through Kashmir and then they were served some food with onion, and kind of look more to that and just be letting go that of that harshness. I don't know the words you used, but it was very sweet, and I felt that was actually sattvic inside of me to kind of forgive me for doing this and let that go. And I think that then there's hopes to return to some sattva, and that's probably on the long run a healthier thing than running around for the rest of the day thinking that I'm doomed, because that's not of no one's service. So yeah, so that's my share. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing, Gangalila. You're definitely not doomed. we all make mistakes. It's normal. Welcome, Narayani. He's also just joined us in California. My dear sister. Haribol. Okay, well, we've just about come to the end of our time. Oh, I feel like we're missing something. We need some last bit of nectar. Okay, I'll share something then, since we have had several persons come in the last moments, and we do have 2 minutes left. I'll share one beautiful article I've been thinking about these last few days. Let me pull it up here. So this is from a talk of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we have it published on premadharma.org. Pull it up here. Okay. So we'll end on this. And so he starts out, he's speaking about this. He starts out citing this verse. It's a beautiful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, scripture, spoken by Lord Chaitanya's beloved associate, Swarup Damodar, when he meets Lord Chaitanya after some period of separation. And And there's this very curious phrase in it where he refers to the Lord's mercy as amando. So there's this phrase, amando doya. Doya is mercy. Amanda, and the word amando or manda, it means like not bad. Manda is like bad, or used in different ways, but more or less just bad. And then amanda means not bad, right? And so there's this curious phrase in this verse of Sri Damodar where he's describing the mercy of Lord Chaitanya as not non-bad producing mercy. Why not just say like wonderful mercy or divine mercy, but he phrased in a specific way. So it's giving you pause to think, right? Oh, well, maybe there are some forms of mercy which actually do have some negative side effect, right? They're incomplete forms of mercy, which ultimately may have some negative consequence, right? But I'll read the whole verse altogether. And I'll mention here too, I don't know enough about Sanskrit to be able to give a proper explanation, but the way the grammatical construction, the grammatical case of the words, there's this echoing of the word daya. Daya is mercy, but you hear the sound of daya repeated as like the case ending of the words that are being used throughout this verse. So this word daya, mercy, is being like echoed again and again, the sound. So I'll read this. It's a glorification of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Dev. Helo dunita kedaya vishadaya pranmilada modaya samyak shastra vivadaya rasadaya chitarpitan madaya shashwad bhakti vinodaya samadaya madhurya maryadaya Sri Chaitanya dayani de tavadaya bhuya ramandodaya. Your mercy easily dispels distress. Maybe I'll do a quick screen share again. Where is that? Here it is. Your mercy easily dispels distress, purifies the soul, produces the greatest joy, concludes all scriptural argument, showers rasa, maddens the heart, inspires eternal devotion, produces equanimity, and is the ultimate divine sweetness. O ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya, please bestow your non-harm producing mercy upon me. Then we'll read, this is from Saraswati Thakur's talk. Sri Gaur Sundar, whose loving words made the residents of the land of Gauda, it's another name for Bengal, glorious, the older name, glorious in all respects, whose sweet words the people of the world discuss and find peace with him, is supremely merciful. Okay, now let's go through this. Now, Saraswati Thakur's style I'm seeing is very concise. Like you have to like stop and meditate like on each sentence. We are all beggars of mercy. Humanity is stricken with deprivation. One who frees others from deprivation is accepted as a benefactor. So we're all in need and deprived in different ways, right? And whoever can supply that, we consider, we celebrate, we glorify as a benefactor. Everything that, so then we can add a however here, right? Everything that is considered a gift in this world is temporary and incomplete. And the number of benefactors in this world is also very small. If beggars' desires and expectations are too great, then all the benefactors in the world cannot come forward and give the beggars the gifts they desire. So this is very reasonable, right? That it is very much possible and likely, even more likely than not, that our desire will exceed the capacity of others to fulfill, right? To satisfy. It will be difficult to satisfy whatever desire one has, from the benediction come the gift coming from others, the so-called mercy coming from others, right? That is very reasonable to understand. The wise cannot give the foolish, the rich cannot give the poor, the healthy cannot give the sickly, and the intelligent cannot give the unintelligent the gifts they desire. Yet, can humanity even desire, even pray for a gift as great as the gift Sri Gaura Sundar has given? Right? This gift of divine love that Lord Chaitanya has come with. You know, it's not even possible for us to begin to conceive, imagine, or even once. It's beyond our capacity to even once the level of gift that he, you know, is giving us, wants to give us, right? It's like we thought the options were like, you know, $100, $1,000, $100,000, and he wants to give us $1 billion, $1 trillion, you know, something like that. Right? We couldn't even have begun to imagine such a thing, to conceive of such a thing. Can humanity even desire, even pray for a gift as great as the gift Sri Gaura Sundar has given? Previously, humanity could not even think or expect that such a great gift could come to this world, could be showered upon souls by their good fortune. The unprecedented gift Sri Gaura Sundar has given to humanity is pure love for the Supreme Lord. The greatest deprivation in this world is that of love. And it is because of this that violence, enmity, selfishness, and so on trouble souls so much. In this world, even godly people, even the gods themselves, are prepared to obstruct souls who aspire to serve the Lord. We are all men gravely stricken with deprivation, stunted vision, being beaten by the 3 modes of nature. Okay, so we're tying this in. Sorry, Bhagavad Gita class today. We cannot search for the real truth. That this is why many accept the alluring bait of untruth. And if one becomes tempted by this, then one's human life does not become successful. Okay, so I think maybe we can close on that meditation today. It's very, very beautiful contemplation. This gift that is being extended to us so mercifully by our gurus. Okay, well, thank you all so much for your wonderful association. Have a beautiful week ahead and look forward to next time. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Shri Bhakti Dev Goswami Jai, all the assembled devotees. Jai Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Haribo. Thank you, Vishaka Didi. That was
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Vishaka Didi ki jai.
Jai!
happy Ekadashi, everybody. Today is Ekadashi.